Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 206 of Buds and Blue Jays. It's your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell, joined by other Jesse Tereso, and David Fulton, who was so good on our last show. We brought him back for another one. And gentlemen, we have so much to get to on this episode. Bowden Francis put together what might have been one of the best starts in franchise history, taking a no-hitter into the ninth inning. We had back-to-back home runs by rookies to win a game in Game 2 in the series. We're going to have some Taylor Ward slander, and we have a whole lot more to get to in this episode. Boys, a big series against the Toronto Blue Jays, or against the Los Angeles Angels, for our Toronto Blue Jays. And then also, we had a lot of very, very exciting things for the rest of the team this season and for the team going forwards. With that being said, boys, what's up, guys? How are you this afternoon?
Can't complain. Beautiful day, series sweep, and ready for this kind of doubleheader we have today. I don't know if you can count it as a doubleheader.
It essentially is. We'll talk about the weirdness of the Boston series and the doubleheader coming up, but we wanted to get this episode in before that happens. Dave, how are you today, my guy?
Feeling good. Glad to be back.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just set the record for biggest variance between visits because it was 2 years between the first two, and it's a week and a half between the second two. So, but hey, I'm always happy to chop it up, so I'm glad to be here.
All right, well, a lot to get to on this episode. Let's not wait any further, guys. We have to talk about the performance that Bowden Francis put together on Saturday. And holy cow, guys, coming off Player of the Week with the great starts against the Cubs and a great start in LA against the Angels, he came back home and put together what might have without a doubt, was his best start of his career. His final line: 8 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 12 strikeouts. Guys took a no-hitter into the ninth inning on 117 pitches. He had a game score of 85, which was second on the season behind only Kevin Gausman's complete game shutout in Oakland on the year. Guys, no-hitter watches are fantastic. I really wanted to see Bowden Francis go out and get this here. It's been a long time. It hasn't been in my lifetime, or maybe not any of yours, since we saw Dave Stieb go for his no-hitter here. I really wanted to see Bowden get it. Credit for John Schneider for letting him go out into the ninth and get there. But unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards, wasn't meant to be. Hell of an effort from Bowden Francis, guys. What was your thoughts when you were watching Bowden Francis put together this amazing start on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah,
I definitely
go ahead, man.
I was definitely shocked, to be witnessing it, because I remember the Brandon Morrow one and all, even Holiday when he was just coming up. I remember all those because compared to you guys, I'm a little bit older than both of you. I definitely was on this edge of my seat. I was actually on a boat, which is kind of funny that I was watching.
Nice.
Rather watch the game than watch the game and on a boat, than enjoy being on a boat on a beautiful summer day in up north.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely was glued to my phone watching it. And I was I'm can this happen? And then obviously, a player that shall not be named made some choice comments, had to ruin it. And
we'll talk about Taylor Ward. Don't worry.
Okay, he'll be named. But I definitely was excited, but not shocked, because if people remember from past episodes, I did say that I thought Bowden Francis would be a top 10 Cy Young vote getter, and that was one of my bold predictions. And these last 3 starts, and even him being the Player of the Week, this is why I said said that prediction.
It's looking good, looking smart right now. Maybe another prediction to back up on it next season going in there. David, how'd you feel watching this Bowden Francis start here?
And it was an event. I couldn't pay complete attention to the game, obviously, but any chance I got to go and stand in front of the TV for a second, I was doing it, and I was feeling the nerves going into the ninth inning, which is weird to say, but I remember I was technically alive for the Dave Stieb no-hitter in 1990. I would have been a year and a half old at that point, so obviously I didn't watch it. But yeah, I remember the Brendan Morrow one. I remember the Doc Holliday one that got broken up with 2 outs in the ninth inning, that one got lost to a home run as well. So that I was really hoping it wasn't going to be the same thing, like 2 outs in the ninth, because that is such a Blue Jays pitcher thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 Blue Jay pitchers have had a no-hitter in the ninth with 2 out, and they lose it. Because I know Steve had 2, and Halladay had 1. I'm blanking on the third guy, but I'm almost 100% sure one of them was broken up with 2 outs in the ninth as well. So, man, I was really hoping that I know I said before we started here, I was really hoping for a Dwayne Wise type play, and unfortunately that ball was just a foot too far for Varsho to try and make a play on it.
Yeah, I think when we saw Dalton Varsho go up and claim that wall, there was pretty sure parts in our mind that thought, hey, Dalton Varsho's actually going to catch this thing, right? Fortunately, it didn't. Just hit a little too high, and it didn't happen, and ultimately he loses the no-hitter. But it was a hell of an effort there. Your players, I have the stats written down here. The 5 Blue Jays who have lost no-hitters in the 9th inning, you mentioned most of them, but Roy Halladay, Dustin McGowan, Brandon Morrow, and David Cohn. Those are all the ones. Where would you rank this Bowden Francis masterclass in those list of 5, if you remember them? Yeah, go ahead.
It's got to be up there. It's tough though, right? I mean, when you're talking about like Steve and Halladay and Morrow, you're talking about some of the best guys that have ever done it for this team. And that's not to say that Francis can't be that guy in the future. He just doesn't have the track record, right? Like, although when you look at it, Halladay was in his rookie season when he had that one that got broken up in the 9th. Actually, technically, that was like his second or third big league start ever. Yep. So, but either way, it's up there 100%. Obviously, it's unfortunate that he lost a couple of batters there with some walks. I think there was a hit by pitch in there. So would have been nice if he had been a little bit more efficient there. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can't control that too much more than what he already did. So just unfortunate that the pitch count was so high, because it certainly looked like he was struggling a little bit with command, a little bit with the velocity was a bit down in the 9th inning. And ultimately, I think that's where Taylor Ward was able to get to it, was that the velocity wasn't quite the same. The location wasn't quite the same. So, but still huge, great effort. It's got to be up there with some of the best pitching performances that we've ever seen anyway.
All right. Can we talk Taylor Ward here about his comments he made post-game? I don't want to spend too much time of it, but his quote saying stuff like, I don't know what people are talking about. His stuff looked very hittable. And it's like, I was watching this Bowden Francis start like intently, and I think he's got so much rise on his fastball that it goes. You saw so many weak pop-ups and so many balls that are fouled back on pitches maybe they should have hit. I don't know, man. His last 2 starts against the Angels have been phenomenal. And if Taylor Ward is saying all this stuff is hittable, then what the hell does that mean about the rest of his teammates here, you know? We all saw the picture with Chris Bassett hitting behind Bowden Francis in Game 3 with Bowden's stat line and saying quote-unquote hittable, which I thought was very wild. Jesse, do you have a thought on Taylor Ward's and his comments post-game here?
I laugh at these comments because if you look at his stats through the 7 games we faced the Angels, he's 1 for 6. So I guess he's really hittable when you're 1 for 6. Like, I'm kind of laughing at that just in the sense, like, he thinks he's all that, but yet Bowden Francis owned you. Like Bowden Francis was your daddy. Like
yes, he was.
Like, you had it, literally, the only way you got a hit was he threw a 92-mile-per-hour fastball when he's at almost 120 pitches. That was the only time you could really get a hit off him. I don't think you're that good. Like, he's that hittable then.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Gausman start a little later, but then he starts talking about how, well, yeah, Gausman, really good stuff today and whatever. It's just that guy can go away and kick rocks. David, I want to turn to you. What does this hot start mean from Bowden Francis? Because he's pitched really well now over the last 3 starts, and one of the storylines we wanted to see in the second half is, can Bowden Francis prove he can be part of the big league rotation going into next year? Do you think he's done that? And do you think this stretch of games from Bowden Francis dramatically affects what the Blue Jays are going to do with their rotation going into the offseason?
I mean, it certainly has to be in consideration. Obviously, I think the front office would be stupid not to look at the work that he's putting together right now. And again, I know I'd said when we talked about this when I was on the previous episode that based on what he was showing us, he's at least locked up that kind of flex spot in the lineup where you're maybe the sixth guy. If he keeps pitching like this for the rest of the season, then I don't think there's any question that he should at least be considered for one of the 5 rotation spots. And I do think if the front office is as high on him as we've been over the last 3-4 starts, they'd be silly not to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you try and you go and like if you have a chance to get a guy in the pitching rotation, you still have to explore that. But I think Francis has done a really good job of inserting himself into the conversation, saying like, no, I can hack it here. I know what the front of the season looked like, but I have the stuff. I have the ability to manage the base paths. I have the ability to go deep into games. You guys got to give me a shot here.
Yeah, Bowden Francis has actually credited some of his success to the fact that he knows he's going to come out every 5th day, that they're not yo-yoing him a little bit. So I think it is important to have that happen. The Blue Jays are definitely going to add starting pitching of some kind. But if they can save maybe 12 to 15 million that they don't have to pay to a starter, it can use that for at-bats, it might be the move here. Jesse, what do you think about Bowden Francis' run and what this means going forward into the offseason?
No, I definitely think it secures his spot in the rotation because he's even quoted as saying, like, I do not like being a swingman. I don't like being the, like, Ross Stripling type. I literally believe this gives us even more organization depth, especially with the injuries of, like, our other young pitchers like Manoah, Tiedemann, Barriera, and even other ones that are coming up through the system. Like Trey Savage, it gives us a little bit more depth, like within when it comes to like youth. Even though Francis isn't that young compared to some of the, if you consider the youth, but I believe like it could help us not really have to worry about getting a starting pitcher. Maybe it'd be nice to get like a true ace, like that could be on the market and all that. But it definitely helps the organization to like have that like insurance policy in case they want to invest in like one of the big bats like a Bregman or a Santander or something like that.
All right. It's worth noting because the Blue Jays rotation is going to have a ton of question marks going into next season regardless. So Bowden Francis at least showing he has this kind of upside is always good to see from the Toronto Blue Jays. All right. Bowden Francis conversation done. We'll see what he does in his next start upcoming here. I believe it's at Minnesota. So we'll see how he does there. All right, guys. I want to talk a little bit about the Blue Jays offense and the Blue Jays team record as a whole, because I don't know if you guys have looked, but since maybe mid-June, the Blue Jays offense has actually taken a little bit of a step forward here. We've hit a home run now in 14 straight games, which I think is the 9th time in franchise history we've done that. And if you look at the records in the AL East over the past, I think it's 6 weeks or so, the Blue Jays are right there with everybody else in the division here. So my question is, since the deadline, since we moved all these players, are we confident in this current young group of Toronto Blue Jays and really being offensive juggernauts? And Dave, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak from how I feel about it personally, but I'm really impressed. Not just with the young guys, but I mean, Vlad's being Vlad, and some guys that I had written off earlier in the season as like this is a lost season are really starting to come around. Kirk was the one I know I felt especially about because the front half of the season it was like it didn't seem like he could hit anything, and very quietly like he's pushing up on a 250 average right now, and he's coming through like it seemed like every game in the series that he had a clutch RBI or a clutch hit at some point in the game to keep an inning alive. And you know, especially with the Vlad intentional walk, that was the one that was like, it's like, okay, you put Vlad on and you got to face Kirk. You think you're going to get an easy out here. And no, Kirk just smokes it into the bullpen. So yeah, loved what I've seen from the young guys. And there's a few of them now that are making a real case that it's like, no, I should be on the roster next year. 100% I should be on the roster next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jesse, what are your thoughts about the offense here and the surge that's been on lately?
Yeah, I definitely have think it's really since the Boston series because that was like really when Vladdy started turning it around, and that's when like Springer started clicking, and we're like, okay, like this is interesting. Will it last? Clearly, it's been lasting. And a funny fact too, talking about the home runs, even the 2015 team and the 16 team with Donaldson, Edwin, and Batista, they never won 14 games with 14 straight games with a homer. So, like, just seeing this youth movement, and even what Barger saying, so we're young, we're bringing the energy, we're having fun. Like, that's why I'm rocking the Buffalo hat today. And it's, I always laugh too now. Whenever, like, all year I've been saying let the kids play, and now I'm hearing that in the Sportsnet broadcast. So I'm like, geez, like I wonder where I heard that before. And it's just, it's like just seeing the youth. Do I think it's gonna like sustain itself for next season? Probably not. But like if we add a few veteran pieces, not like a Turner or like the old retirement type of players, like more like like entering their prime or just entered their prime type of veterans that have like who are semi-year free agents or just who are non-tender but still have the upside. I think those would be the pieces to add, and like more like complementary veterans, not like everyday veterans who will take the time, like playing time from like the Bargers or Horowitz, like the Jimenez and stuff like that. I think it'd be more, like the complementary pieces. Like I'm thinking now, even for the catching, I would bring in like a Gausman Grandal or like Austin Hedges and like Kirk to have like with the offense and just make sure they have the backup catcher who can still frame and play the defense.
Sure, and we'll touch on who the Blue Jays should add and whatnot as we get into the offseason, as we have a whole offseason worth of content to get to. I just think what's happening now is now we're going to get hope. This young Blue Jays team is going to play good down the stretch, and then all of a sudden, all winter, we're going to have hope in the next season. And I can't wait to get hurt again because that's always what seems to happen here with the Toronto Blue Jays. All right, boys. I want each of us to go through, pick a player from this series, preferably on the position player side, that impressed you this series or that you really want to talk about, and then we can each pick our player, and then we can talk about the rest from here. So, David, on the position player front for the Toronto Blue Jays this series against the Angels, who impressed you the most?
I mean, aside from Kirk, who I mentioned in the previous bit there, given that I already talked to him about him a little bit, I'll skip him over. But I kind of have to go with Joey Loperfido. Okay. I know that in the last time I was on, we talked about like, I felt like he was starting to get a little bit more comfortable. We were seeing some good defensive plays from him. The bat was starting to come around a little bit. He got a couple of hits under his belt, and it certainly felt like he was starting to feel more at home. And looking at this series that they just played in Toronto, he looked very comfortable, very competitive at bats. He hit very well through the series. Making good defensive plays in the field, everything that you want to see from that guy. I mean, that was the piece that I was looking at and saying, okay, that's the guy that we got in the trade, right? So I continue to be of the opinion that if he continues to get if he's playing 2 out of every 3 games, that this little streak is going to continue. It certainly looks like it's sustainable anyway down the stretch here.
Yeah, Joey Loperfido has confirmed that he's a legit big league player. His last 10 games, going back to when the Blue Jays were out in LA, going through there, he's got a 1200 OPS, 1248 OPS. He has 7 extra base hits in his last 10 games, 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 2 triples for Joey Loperfido. It's been fantastic. Jesse, do you have a comment on him before you want to mention your player of the series?
Oh, definitely. I was going to, if David mentioned him, I was going to mention him. Like, I definitely feel like he has definitely shown like he is here to stay, and like all the fans that were like really questioning him when he first showed up, like he had that 0 for 24 slump. Like he's young. He's only played not even 70 games in the MLB. Like, yeah, every expert says it takes about 1,000 ABs to know what type of player they're going to be. And he's starting to show like this. He's up in I believe the 90th percentile in sprint, like the base running sprint speed, and like some of those triples he's hit this in the last like couple of games. It looks like he's not even trying. Like he didn't have to slide. He could get like stand up triples and like just at his size too is very impressive. And even like the catch he made on Thursday going against the wall, or even his debut catch at the Rogers Center when he made the diamond catch, where like he had literally had a 90% chance of failing, like not making that catch, and he still made that diving catch. And I've definitely have been impressed by him and like his bats coming around. And I was listening, and like the little adjustment he made was he got rid of the leg kick, and and I've definitely like since he's done that, like he's definitely been making more contact and timing it even better now, because like I was saying the other day, the difference between AAA and the majors now is huge. But yeah, I definitely have enjoyed watching Loperfido since we got him, and I was excited about that. But for me and my player, what I definitely would have to say is Addison Barger. Like, we'll definitely go with another one of the Buffalo boys, and him with the the walk-off home run is just like, and then the homer in Game 4 is just when he is hitting homers, he's just like unleashing. Like, it's so fun to watch just the power coming off the ball coming off his bat with that bat speed, and even the versatility too, and is like playing right field or third. Just seeing that arm is like, I'm like, I haven't seen like an arm like from a Blue Jay player from since probably like Kenny Maldonado played or Raul Mondesi played, with like how like the power in that. Like, I'm just loving it, and like as I've been saying, with the kids playing and seeing them play is just it's giving us excitement. And I am ready to get hurt again because of this excitement, but that's the story of being a Toronto sports fan.
Hey, Addison Barger has all the tools in the world, right? We've marveled it even when he was going through his little slump there. His bat speed, his arm strength is all there. It's all been phenomenal. We wanted to see him get a little bit of run. The problem is with the guy who swings the way he does is he's going to be very streaky. So he'll turn into like what David Schneider has been for times, but then he'll get so hot, he'll hit like 5 home runs in a week. He'll be player of the week, and he'll single-handedly lead your team to some games. So that's why it's very important to ride this player when he is hot, and I hope John Schneider takes notes. My player of the series is Ernie Clement. And guys, I know I want to flash you back to Game 1 of this series, and I know we all saw it. The home run he hit off his face, basically, was up there. Is it sad that my first initial reaction at seeing him hit the home run there was, why are you swinging at that pitch? It's a terrible pitch to swing at, or whatever. But the result was fantastic. And I don't know if you guys remember, early in the season in San Diego, he hit a similar home run on another pitch that was way high up there, and he also hit it up there. I guess Ernie Clement is just, his bat-to-ball skills are so good. It's like Vladimir Guerrero Sr. in the day. It doesn't matter where you put it. He's going to go out and he's going to swing at it. The highest pitch for a hit for a home run in the StatCast era, well, it's technically second, but it's the first one that wasn't thrown by a position player pitching. So kudos to Ernie Clement. I guess when you look at his heat map, you got to put a red hot zone way up above there for Ernie Clement. Absolutely amazing with what he's done. And not to go on about like, he's actually been legit good over the past like week or so. I think he's got 4 home runs over that time. He's up to 10 on the season now. Good stuff from Ernie Clement. Did you boys have a thought on that?
Yeah, 100%. I had made the same comparison to Vlad Sr. because that's one of the only guys I can think of other than Ichiro maybe, but that's a completely different kind of hitter. You know what I mean? But the ability to just be able to, doesn't seem to matter where the pitch is, because it feels like he can hit it when it's way inside. He can hit it when it's way outside. Obviously, we've seen him hit it very high. And then later on in the series, he ended up with an RBI single on one that was almost in the dirt. And he just poked it into into right field and cashed in a run. So it's been very entertaining. I 100% appreciate him, especially considering he's been solid defensively. But yeah, it seems like he's really starting to come into his own now.
It's very good. All right. And then I've got 3 other hitters in this series that actually have had pretty good series that I want to get your thoughts on here. The first one, Dalton Varsho, who had a 9-game hit streak and a 20-game on-base streak going forward over his last 20 games. So since that on-base streak started, he's only got 2 home runs, but he's got an 815 OPS, 8 walks to 20 strikeouts. He's even got a stolen base in that time. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit another home run in this series. It was a rocket. It was an absolute smoke show from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then Alejandro Kirk as well had a home run as well, his 5th this season. on there as well. And this, so those three hitters, do you have a quick thought before we get to some defense? Vlad, Barstow.
I definitely would. It's nice to see Vladdy still punching the Angels like he did when they were in Anaheim, and Varsho, with how much people have hated on Varsho since we made the infamous trade. Like, see him have the success of 20-game on-base streak, 9-game hit streak. I'm with the level of defense he's played all year. I will take that any day. The power's not there, but if you're playing Platinum Glove defense and still helping the team win in some way, I'm not going to complain about your average as long as you're not hurting the team. And I can say Marshall has never hurt the team when he's not hitting the ball. Just seeing him have that success, again, it gives me hope for next season. But again, we're used. I'm not taking it for granted, but I'm definitely appreciative of seeing him with his performance as of late.
Dave, do you have a thought on any of those players?
Yeah, I mean, Vlad still doing Vlad things. It's nice to see. Couple of weird intentional walks.
He's getting the Bonds treatment a little bit now, eh?
The one that was a real, even the broadcast was scratching their head there because it was 3-1 count, no one's on, no one's out, and they put him on first, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, and then Kirk made him pay literally next batter home run, 2-run shot. So it's like, okay, you wanted to pitch to Kirk, that's a bad idea because he's starting to come back around. So you love to see that. Varsho, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look at what Gab Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. have done in Arizona and not feel a little wistful about that. But at the same time, I mean, as Jesse was saying there, Platinum Glove defense. He's got top tier sprint speed. He's going to steal you some bases. The base running is going to be clean. The bat's not always going to be there, unfortunately, but he's done enough with it this year that, I mean, I think this is the guy. If he can pick up the hitting clip even a little bit going forward and into next year, this is a super guy to have in center field for you, 100%. Yep.
We will take that 100%. And just think, on a real good competitive team, Dalton Varsho is hitting 8th in your lineup, so the fact that you're getting that out of the bat shouldn't be too concerning. Good, everyday, regular player. All right. On top of how good the Blue Jays offense was this series, we did have 5 notable players who struggled with the bat, and I'll have each of you take one, I guess, who you're the most concerned about here. But 5 players. Will Wagner went 1 for 12 this series after coming off a series where he was very, very hot. George Springer went 1 for 13 in this series. His cold stretch continues. Spencer Horwitz was 2 for 13 as well in this series. Leo Jimenez, 2 for 11. And Davis Schneider went 0 for 5 in minimal at bats. So out of those 5 players, Jesse, I'll start with you. Which one of those 5 are you concerned about the most going forward?
To be honest, I'm not too concerned with it because, again, it's baseball. It happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like more with the Will Wagner one is more kind of like what happened with David Schneider when he came up last year, where he had that amazing series against Boston when he became Babe Schneider, and then they went to Cleveland and he struggled mightily, and then. I feel like that's just a similar path right now with Wagner, where teams are now understanding how to pitch to him or play let's set up their defense against him. So I feel like that's what's going on with Wagner. Horowitz, again, he's gone through a little bit of struggles like that earlier in the season. I feel like he'll come back. Then Springer is just, I feel like it's literally just his age. Like we've been saying earlier, I think it's just it's been a steady decline this year to show that the final few years of his contract are going to be a little bit painful.
Mm-hmm. And then, David, how about you? Those 5 players, did you have a concern about it?
Yeah. The only one I'm really looking at is Schneider. That's really it.
Yeah.
I agree that Springer certainly feels like a bit of age-related regression. I certainly think that he's capable of putting it all back together for a decent season next year. Because that the tools are all there. It's just a question of, does he have it, I guess. But this does start, it's basically a lost season for him at this point in time. Jimenez and Wagner, they're brand new. You'd expect them to have some ups and downs. That's just normal. There very few guys come in and they're just amazing all the time right away. So not super concerned there. Obviously, the longer it goes, the more eye-catching it is. But to have two young guys who just got here having a tough series, not that surprising. Horwitz, same thing. We've seen it up and down all year. He started off really hot, then he cooled off, then he picked it back up again. Now he's cooling back off again a little bit. So it does feel kind of like how the season's gone for him. Schneider, the only reason I'm really worried about him is that I really like this player.
Right.
Even when he was struggling at points last year, struggling at points earlier this year, I'm like, we know it's in there. And so at this point, I mean, you can't be playing him regularly because he's just not giving you anything at the plate. But I do worry that it's like a reverse situation with Loperfido, where now that he's starting to get regular ABs and regular time in the field, you're starting to see that bat turn around. And I'm worrying that the opposite is happening for Schneider, is that the less he performs, the less he's going to be out there, and that's only going to make his performance worse.
Right.
So,
And we've talked on this show about the best thing for Davis Schneider might be to send him down to AAA and let him get regular at bats to try to get out of this funk, right? But I think if the Blue Jays were a competitive team and were up there in the standings, Davis Schneider would already be down in Buffalo. He wouldn't be here. But because the Blue Jays are where they are in their standings, they figured, well, we can still put him up there, keep him on the big league team, and see where things go from here, which I don't think is the best for his development going forward. But that's why he hasn't been sent down or anything like that yet. All right, gentlemen, let's talk some pitching, right? We already touched on Bowden Francis, one of the best starts of the season. But I guess there were three other performances. So there was Kevin Gausman, there was Chris Bassett, and then there was the bullpen day with Ryan Yarbrough. I'll take the bullpen day, guys. Jesse, I'll start with you. Who would you rather talk about, Kevin Gausman's performance or Chris Bassett's performance here?
I definitely want to. I'll talk about Chris Bassett. Like, it was definitely nice to see him perform better. Like, other than his one blow up inning. Like, if he doesn't have that blow up inning, we may have been talking different and wouldn't have had those dramatics of like Loperfido and Barger in the ninth.
Retired 12 in a row, I think, after after the second inning there.
No, exactly. Like, he did perform well, and especially with everything that's been going on with what he said in the media and all that, and just dealing with all his quotes too. It's nice to see him have that performance after that little bit of blow up, because it could have been way worse. I just wish he could not have those blow-ups, because, like, when he had that blow, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, will it be what we had against Oakland, or even what we had against Cincinnati? It's just the painful watch, and just seeing almost, I always say it looks like he's in agony whenever he's pitching, and
that's
I'm like,
been Chris Bassett his whole career, right? Like, he's had those blow-up moments, whether it's full blow-up starts or blow-up innings, and then he always seems to just figure it out.
No, exactly. But it's just like, especially with everything he's been going on lately, I'm like, this is not going to help him with the Jays fan base and all the people who are probably calling for his head, like, with everything that's been going on. But like, just seeing him after the getting of those 3 months to retiring the 12 in a row, I'm like, this is what we saw last year, and I wish we got more of it. Like, him just dominating teams and outsmarting them. Yes, it is the Angels, who aren't the greatest team, but still, is there seeing him use his 8 pitches to get through all those innings, is kind of save our bullpen after the bullpen day. I definitely have to tip my cap to that.
Okay, well, good. Tip of the cap. Come back here on this podcast, which is a trend we've had a lot of the season for Chris Bassett. He'll be an interesting player to analyze going forward. I'm very curious to see what he does in his next start here at Fenway Park. Dave, that leaves you with Kevin Gausman's performance, and his line was fantastic. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 10 strikeouts. Dave, how are you feeling about Kevin Gausman after this performance?
I mean, what else is there to say? That's Kevin Gausman right there. That's the guy that you paid for. Anyway,
sure.
Obviously he's had his struggles earlier in the year, at times, but this is the guy that's always been in there, and it's nice to see him come back out. It'll be interesting to see what the rest of his starts look like, and if there's a point in time where they say, okay, we're just going to shut this down. But yeah, I watched a lot of that start live, and apart from the couple of runs that he the couple of runs that he gave up, the one run that he gave up with a couple of hits, in the middle of his outing, looked very clean. Was able to manage the guys on the base paths very effectively. All of his pitches seemed to be going pretty well for the most part, and the velocity was good. So yeah, I liked what I saw. It's nice to see that guy come back out every once in a while, and I think it's big for his confidence too to get performances like this, especially considering that at points this season it looked like he was a little shakier because the previous had been not so great for him.
Yeah, the swing and the miss came back for Kevin Gausman in this one, which is something we've wanted to see a long time because he's really kind of adjusted to this pitch to contact role that Kevin Gausman has gone for. And if you look at his out distribution over the course of his game, he allowed one line drive. That was it. Even when Kevin Gausman was on fire and he was dominant, he still had a bit of a line drive problem against him. He didn't have that here. He was doing a very good job at missing bats, which if Kevin Gausman can become that guy going forward, I still think there's some longevity and there's going to be more signs like this in Kevin Gausman's game. So I think it was very good to see. I'll touch on the bullpen day here, guys. And Ryan Burr got the starts, which surprised a lot of us, I think, and was fine. Got through the first inning, gave up a hit in the second before Ryan Yarbrough came in. And Ryan Yarbrough did what we have seen Ryan Yarbrough do against the Toronto Blue Jays for a long time. He ended up pitching 5 innings, 3 hits, didn't walk a batter, struck out 4. Now, I don't think it's going to surprise everyone if we think he got a little bit lucky. He allowed 8 fly balls, 5 line drives in this one. The defense did play very well behind Ryan Yarbrough, but it was very surprising to get a good win here. He's going to get a bulk of the innings today in Boston, so I guess we'll see how he performs here today and see how things going. My thought is we don't need to see any more of Ryan Yarbrough in these big bulk roles. Let's get another general starter in here. Let's get Jake Bloss or somebody else up here coming up and doing these starts. But, he had a job. He's been doing this job for a long time, and he just did it again here in the series. So credits to you, Ryan Yarbrough.
Oh, definitely. I definitely would say, I'll take anyone other than probably Pablo Espino for these bulk innings instead of Yarbrough.
All right. And then let's touch on the bullpen here, guys. And would you believe the bullpen, as we've been calling it, was actually good this series? Only one Blue Jays reliever allowed a run this series. Can you name them? If you've got it, spit it out.
Tommy Nance.
Tommy Nance, that's right. And he allowed 4 earned runs in this series. One of them was a 3-run home run he gave up in game 1 to Joe Adell when we were up 5-0. The other one was a solo home run he gave up late in game 3, which didn't really matter. That means Chad Green, who picked up another save in this series, Eric Swanson, Genesis Cabrera, Ryan Burr, Zach Pop, and Brandon Littell all had scoreless work, which I think that might tell you more about the Angels as an offense than it does tell you about the Blue Jays as a bullpen. But hey, I want to give props where prop is due. The Blue Jays bullpen did their job in this series and pitched very well and is part of the reason why we got the 4-game sweep. So credit to them.
Absolutely. I mean, you can only pitch to the guys that are in front of you. And we'd seen earlier in the year, even with teams that you would look at and say that's a soft target, that they were really struggling to get guys out at points. So nice to see that they've rebounded for the most part and are nailing it down for us, where in spots before they were letting it go.
Jesse, thought on the pen?
Oh, it definitely was shocking, especially being how much I've ripped into the bullpen and just the pain they have given us all year. Just to only see really one pitcher actually have a blow up, definitely is makes me wish we had this all year. But I'll take it with a grain of salt that things could be turning around for it. But we'll see, especially in this 5-game series against Boston.
Absolutely. All right. We got a little bit of time here, so I want to take a look down on the farm to see how some things for the Toronto Blue Jays have been doing. Jake Bloss, since he got to Buffalo, 9 2/3 innings pitched. He has yet to allow a run. He struck out 8, and he's given up 6 hits, and he's walked 5 guys. So you want to see the command a little bit better from Jake Bloss down there. But hey, almost 10 innings of pitch, no earned runs. That will work. And if you've noticed, a lot of the guys we picked up at that trade deadline have quietly been putting together some very good stuff. Jesse shared a video yesterday of Jay Harry, who was rated the worst prospect out of all the prospects traded, hitting a 400-foot home run. RJ Schreck, who we got from Justin Turner, has actually been a monster since coming down here. McAdoo has hit really well, too, for his time in New Hampshire. Haven't heard much about Yohendrick Pinago or any of those guys yet, but it does seem like these prospects are actually coming in and doing really, really nice things down on the farm. Did you guys want to take a thought on any of them or anyone else down on the farm that's caught your attention lately?
Oh, especially RJ Strike, that just, I'll say it, but part of my mind with that pin drop with that home run, like that was just like after he launched that ball and just, I don't know who pissed him off on that in that game, but I just see that just as like, oh boy, like I wish I could have been at that game just to like witness it. And even Charles McAdoo, like he like the power's real, and like I'm definitely excited to see him come up one day and just see it, like just witness that and possibly be that big third baseman, power hitting third baseman we haven't had in years.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for him. Dave, any notable things on the farm that you've seen here?
Yeah, it's been nice to see kind of generally that some of the pieces that we picked up are looking like good additions. I mean, we've talked previously about how barren the farm system was for a long stretch there, where it didn't feel like hardly anyone. Like when Schneider came up, it's like, oh, this guy was in our system, because it was that much of a surprise that we had someone graduate, right? But one guy that I know they mentioned it on the broadcast at one point in time during the series as well, but one guy that I've kind of been looking at recently is Alan Roden.
He's been well,
He started the year in New Hampshire, got promoted to AAA. Since he's been at AAA, he's been really, really good in the field for them. 298 average, 391 on base, 458 slug for an 849 OPS. So that's looking really nice. He's walking almost as often as he strikes out. He's been reasonably solid defensively in the field. So that's a guy I'm keeping my eye on as well. That's a guy that we might see get a few reps sooner rather than later based on how he's playing right now.
Yeah, he absolutely deserves it. And I wonder if the Blue Jays maybe use Alan Roden as maybe someone to trade here, because the outfield position with Jonathan Clase down there now, it just seems to be so crowded. And I bet the Blue Jays use one of these players to try to improve the team going forward into next year, which is pretty wild. Gentlemen, that's it for our series recap. We had a good time here. I love it when the Blue Jays go out and they sweep. It's way too little too late in the season to be relevant now, but it's always a good time when you go out and
sweep it is.
A sweep it is, baby. It's always quite nice. Always great, too, to see Kevin Pillar back in Toronto, where he spent so much time. Ryan Goins, who's a coach now on the Angels, too. Always nice to see him up there. And Brandon Drury was also back. There's that for him, too. Yep. So any final thoughts, boys, on this Angels series? Because we won't see them again now until next season. Any final takeaways or any final thoughts? Dave, start with you.
I just feel bad for them. Honestly, that's about it. It's, you look at the numbers on the other side and it's like, man, that's tough. I really hope that they do a big overhaul of this roster in the offseason. And it's no disrespect to the guys that are there right now. I mean, you can see the promise in some guys like Cavadas looks like he might be a guy. Obviously, Joe Adell is a guy. I
always love Joe Adell, yeah.
Great player, but it's just not working right now. Hitters, pitchers, doesn't seem to matter. It's just not together for them. So I hope that some of their young guys take a step forward next year and they overhaul the roster a bit, because right now it's tough not to be like, man, that's a tough spot, especially with Trout being out for the year again. Mm-hmm. Man, that's tough.
They'll be good one day for sure. Jesse, do you have a final thought on the Angels series here?
Oh, it definitely is kind of was a cool touch by Kevin Pillar wearing Goins jersey and batting practice. But I still find it kind of funny how your former teammates are all your coaches now, and in the sense of Goins. So like I thought that was kind of funny, and just like again, it's like the one thing I still don't understand with the Angels that I heard was like them extending their GM with what he's done to that organized team and building it. I'm like, you're really extending the guy who's pretty much made your team one of the laughing stocks of baseball right now.
All right. Well, hey, anytime you lose 7 games in a span of 10 days to this Toronto Blue Jays team, I think it's quite fair that you are one of the laughing stocks in all of baseball. So tough for the Angels. I'm glad to know there are teams out there that are not as bad as the Toronto Blue Jays and are having a worse season as us. Looking at you, Chicago White Sox, by the way. And all that stuff. So that's a positive we can take from this. All right. Well, for David Fulton, for Jesse Teresa, I am Jesse Burrell. Thank you all for joining us. We have a wild day of baseball to watch here against the Boston Red Sox. We are going to get off here and do that. We will see you guys after that series to recap a whole bunch more, including some Danny Jansen talk and a whole bunch more. We'll see you guys next time. In the meantime, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.
Go Blue Jays.